but there's a crew in town. The head hillbillies are making their rounds. Small town whispers loud and clear. The sheriff shot the judge in his chambers chair.
Sheriff got a secret he won't keep. Judge shot dead in his disbelief. A lot of people have some stories to tell. Dark pass away, get the sound of a shotgun shell.
All the secrets spill on down. Voices loud in this old town. From the courthouse to the ground. Rumors fly and they can't be bound.
Neighbors hide behind their blinds. Whisper tales of troubled minds. Skeletons covering the mountainside. A treacherous reality in the pines.
Winter reveals the hidden lies. Moonlight couldn't mask their cries. Shadows caught in sunlit skies. There's no cover, no disguise. All the secrets spill on down. Voices loud in this old town. From the courthouse to the ground. Rumors fly and they can't be found.
Winter reveals the hidden lie. Moonlight could mask their cries. Shadows caught in sunlit skies. There's no cover, no disguise.
All the secrets spill on down. Voices loud in this old town. From the courthouse to the ground. Rumors fly and they can't be bound.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the channel. My name is Elizabeth, and this is Hillbilly Crime. I better get that off of there behind my head, hadn't I? Okay. Now, how is everybody? Are y'all having a good start to your week? So, I'll give you a little bit of mine. So for some reason, I don't know why, but all day Saturday I thought it was Thursday, and all day Sunday I thought it was Friday. And I kept thinking all day Sunday, I kept thinking, man, I can't wait till tonight's show is over, and then I'm really going to enjoy this weekend. I'm going to take this weekend. It was like Sunday evening when I figured out it was Sunday. And I was like, oh my gosh, my whole weekend is gone before I even realized it was here. Yep. So that is how my mind has been. Anyway. So if you have not been here before, welcome to our show. Now, we have an outstanding live chat, so we want to know where you're from, and we want to know what you think about these cases that we talk about. So now what we're going to talk about tonight is the Amber Spradlin case. Now, we had Miss Debbie Hall on a couple weeks ago. She was Amber's cousin, and she kind of gave us a little introduction into this case. If you live in this area, I don't see how you couldn't be familiar with this case. This happened a county or two over. It happened in Floyd County, and some friends of the show, the Docket Dodgers, they did a show on Amber's case, and so we're gonna watch that if y'all will join me. They are lawyers. It's Matt Hagar and a law student, and forgive me if I can't think of his name right this very second, but we are Wade Hall, and I just adored Wade. We went on their show one. Wade Hall. There's our buddy Wade Hall. I just love him. All right. Can y'all see? Sorry, guys. Okay, here we go. So this is Wade Hall. He is the law student that is part of the duo on this YouTube channel called the Docket Dodgers. So I recommend anybody, all of our viewers, please go over to the Docket Dodgers and subscribe to their channel. They are legal eagles. Matt Hagar is a licensed attorney, and they have a visitor on this show that we're going to watch, and he is the Mingo County prosecutor. And so he gives his take on this case. So let's jump right into it.
Williamson, West Virginia radio building. I'm joined today with
Matt Hagar
and
Josh Farrell.
We're going to be talking about the Amber Spradlin case in our neighboring state of Kentucky. It's a pretty big deal. There's been billboards put up. It's the talk of Facebook, social media. And the event started about 2 years ago in June of 2023. And it stems from a murder conspiracy cover-up. And we're going to just jump right into it. So Amber, she was a hostess at the Brick House restaurant. Now, this is something I don't know. I'm not a Kentucky guy. You guys have some Kentucky experience over here with the Brick House?
I've eaten at the Brick.
Okay, so I have to admit, I was not aware. That's one of the reasons why I didn't cover this case as nearly as much. I didn't cover this case at all, except for the one show that we did, because I didn't know anything, and I didn't want to come on here and do a show on it and not know any of the details or anything. And they did a great job, Matt and Wade. They did a great job kind of explaining to us many of the details that I just wasn't aware of. So I want y'all to listen, and they're gonna, all those questions that any of you all had, like I had, I think they're getting ready to answer a lot of them for you. Maybe because they are with the legal background as attorneys. We just follow a lot of what they give us.
Have you eaten the Brick House, Josh?
Yeah, not since this happened.
Me either. I don't think I would go there.
No, I wouldn't now, but I had previously.
Okay. So
They used to have a lot of live music, and
So what I understand, Josh, I think that they got off of work and they ended up going to a bar. Is that right?
yeah, I believe it was a bar called Seasons over there.
And then it was no. Let's outline the players here. We have MK, and that is
Michael McKinney is his name. He's the son of the dentist, Michael McKinney.
okay. And then he went there to meet a cousin.
I believe it's a second or third cousin, Roy Kidd.
Okay. And then somehow Amber met up with him there.
She did. She worked at the brick house, went there after. I believe her and Roy Kidd were the two that were actually closer friends.
Okay. Do you know what happened from there? Because I loosely know a little bit about this, but I don't know a whole lot about this.
From what I've read, they ended up drinking at the Seasons bar till 3 or 4 in the morning. I believe the reports were 4. I think there might have been some initial trying to downplay that because that would actually be outside the hours they're supposed to be open. But after that, it was routine for people in the area to go to the McKinney home, drink more, hang out more. And
I remembered to unmute myself. Okay, so I'm going to stop that right there for a second. This already shows us here that the place was supposed to close at a certain time. In rural areas, a lot of times these establishments will stay open way later than what they're supposed to. Well, that's one of them who you know, it's who you know kind of thing, if you can get by with that kind of thing. Okay, point number 2 I want to make is that it seems like it was a routine thing that when the bar closed, the after party would move to the dentist's home. And now I would like to say that I have done a little bit of research, not into what happened that night, but more into the rumors that I have heard about the dentist. And allegedly the dentist is gay, from what I understand. Allegedly, he might be bisexual, I don't know, but he's supposed to be he's supposed to like young men, allegedly. And that got me thinking. I have been the one to holler sex trafficking, here in Letcher County. And somebody said something the other day to me about wondering if, kids were being done bad. Listen, I'm telling you, there's some really bad stuff going on. And you don't want to talk too much about it without, anymore. They want you to have a video of the actual incident. So it just makes me wonder how connected this guy was and what else was going on. Like, we know that poor Amber lost her life that night, but was there a larger activity going on behind the scenes that maybe, if a real investigation was done, could it have opened a Pandora's box in that area?
that's what the group of people did.
Okay, so they were there for like an after party.
Correct.
Okay. So I think was there several 911 calls, or?
I believe there was ultimately 2 911 calls. From the reports I've read, which we're dealing with the police investigation and the Roy Kidd interviews, that they drank at the McKinney residence and partied and hung out from about 4 to 6 to 7
I hope it doesn't freeze up on us too much tonight, y'all. But I always stop it when it starts buffering so we don't miss anything.
Other witnesses that had been there and left, I believe it was either might have been Josh Mullins' girlfriend, who said that she had seen Kidd and Spradlin up around 7 a.m. So, they speculate that the murder had to have happened after 7 a.m. So there was a 911 call originally. I believe it might have been around 6 a.m. before that, where Michael McKinney, the father, the dentist, had called over Roy Kidd. He called complaining that he had a highly intoxicated individual at his home. They couldn't do nothing with him. He was acting a little crazy, but he specified that he did not want him arrested. He just asked if they could come out and pick him up. And I believe his exact words were, put him in a drunk tank. So that's 911 call number one. There was nothing that came out of that. There was no wellness check. No one came out and, looked into the situation.
I think the father, Michael McKinney, actually got on the 911 call at some point and said that he had it taken care of or something. Is that what you kind of heard from it?
I believe so. I believe whenever he was on that call, he kept specifying that he didn't want him arrested, then finally just said, I've got it taken care of.
Okay. And then there was a second 911 call.
There was a second 911 call later that morning, which dealt with Amber's body having been discovered. Mm-hmm. So what allegedly happened was Roy Kidd, who was highly intoxicated, I believe the report stated that he urinated, defecated on himself, and he woke up the next morning and he actually came out and found Amber. He states that he was looking for his cell phone and found her. He goes to Michael McKinney, the father's door, knocks on it, wakes him up, tells him, she's dead. He states that, basically he just looks out the door, looks at her, then goes back in his room. So there's a phone call that he made to the then police chief, and that lasted approximately 8 minutes. So he talked to him prior to making the 911 call. Then he ultimately makes the 911 call.
So it seems like he called the police chief to try to get some sort of advice of what to do. You think that's what the speculation is around that?
That's definitely the speculation. The allegations are with the subsequent allegations of cover up, there's 7 counts of tampering and evidence destruction. So what the speculation is, he was calling him, trying to find out what he needed to do and probably how to protect himself.
And this call was not a 911 call. It was to his cell phone.
It was to his private cell phone. And he has since retired. He's no longer the police chief. There's speculation that the retirement was because of this.
And
that would make sense.
Yeah.
I think it took a while before they ruled Amber Spradlin's death a murder. Is that correct?
Correct. And part of the whole issues, and a lot of people taking some points of contention with this, and one of the reasons why they originally started having some suspicions about the McKinneys, when Roy Kidd found the body, and he's worked at a ARH hospital. He's not a nurse. I think he might be a some sort of CT technician, maybe.
Yeah, but he's definitely in the medical field.
But he's been in the medical field of, I think it was 30 years. He speculated that she had died of some sort of aneurysm or stroke or some sort of natural causes, just from what he allegedly seen. He's seen some dried blood, but it wasn't what you'd expect with a brutal murder, according to him.
Mm-hmm.
So if you guys are noticing already, there were some serious things going on, like the dentist, the dentist, whenever he called, he didn't call 911, he called the chief of police first. There were so many things. I don't even want to say something and then say the wrong thing. But there were so many issues with this case. I put the Docket Dodgers link to their show, and you can go and make sure you subscribe to their channel, because they cover a whole lot of other cases too. But I put the link to this one in the description of our video. And I also put the link in for another great resource if you have the time to go digging down that rabbit hole. And I'll show you that one too in a minute.
On the 911 call from McKinney, who Roy Kidd states that didn't come out to see the body. He stated that in early interviews. He says she's got her throat slit. When first responders arrived on the scene and the coroner arrived on the scene, they did not see that wound. The way she was positioned on the couch was upright with her chin down, which would have been covering that. Roy Kidd didn't see that. The first responders didn't see that, and the coroner didn't see that. So there's been a lot of speculation that obviously he's seen that somehow to be able to say that on the 911 call. And the prosecution had submitted that transcript, and it actually has it on there. She's got her throat slit.
And he was there making that phone, and it's heard on the phone call. How reliable can we take these testimony of like their chain of it? They were drinking all night, I would assume.
Oh, yeah.
So you said they left the bar at 4 a.m, and this didn't happen until 6 or 7. That's a lot of intoxicated people there.
Oh, yeah. And Roy Kidd, like we talked about, he was so intoxicated, he had fell multiple times. They called the 911 on him. The reports and the filings in the court system on the prosecution made, and I think the defense too, stated that he had urinated and defecated on himself.
I think that Roy Kidd, he actually did an interview recently, or a deposition, kind of like for a criminal case. I mean, those are odd in a criminal case, but we have the transcript of what the interview from the officer was, right?
I think what that was, I wouldn't call it a deposition. I think it was just a recorded interview, and then they had the transcripts prepared off of that.
I think what he said was that initially Roy Kidd believed that Amber Spradlin had a stroke or aneurysm.
That's correct, yeah. And that's why a lot of the speculation and, a lot of red flags were raised by the 911 call, with McKinney stating that she had her throat slit.
Okay. And how was the sleeping arrangement? Do you know anything about the sleeping arrangement that night?
I don't. I know that Kidd, I believe, had went to a separate bedroom. Spradlin was found on the couch. McKinney, the father, was in his own room. And I'm assuming McKinney, the son, had his own room, but I don't know anything about that.
And Spradlin was found on the couch, and this was like in the living room or something?
I believe so. It sounds like they might have had some sort of basement that they used for partying and hanging out like this, and I believe that might be the case.
So this was a larger property, like
I'm assuming the prosecution has filed their intent to use the floor plans of the home in their case. But I've only seen pictures, but it does seem to be a nice house, and this is a wealthy family.
That's what I was thinking, from his dentist practice and owning of multiple residents and businesses in that county.
Yeah, I believe that he was well-to-do, not just from the dental practice, but from businesses.
Yeah.
So what month was Amber Spradlin murdered?
She was killed in June of 2023.
And I think it's crazy because, I mean, you couldn't drive down US 23 going to Prestonsburg without seeing Justice or Amber Spradlin signs. And it took how long for them to make an arrest in this case?
Well, the indictments came in July of 2024. And if I'm remembering correctly and everything I've seen, I don't believe they made any arrests prior to the indictments.
Yeah, so it took a long time. And Debbie Hall was her aunt. And her aunt was very vocal. And I don't think if it wasn't for her aunt that there would have been as much attention on this case as there were. Hey,
I'll tell you, if anything ever happens to me, I hope I've got a Debbie Hall in my corner. I got some family members that I'd speculate that it would be. But I tell you, she's went to bat for her. She's, I believe she's a physician in the area.
Yeah, she's a family doctor, I believe. And then at some point, her and the judge executive actually got into a squabble, and the judge executive tried to get her locked up.
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm saying. She's went to the meetings. She's went to bat, not caring who she's made mad. She's went against the politicians, went against the public. Mm-hmm. She's not been scared to be vocal.
At one,
and that was Miss Debbie Hall that they're talking about there. Miss Debbie is who we had on our show. That's how you have to be. If you go up against anybody in power, in a position of power, especially the system. But if you go up against anybody in a position of power, you will face the consequences. You will suffer the retaliation, no matter how it looks. And it could look different for each, different person. It's gonna look different.
Point, the judge executive retained jailhouse calls that Debbie was talking to someone inside the jail, and they were talking about Debbie making their bond, and Debbie said, "Why don't you wait? Michael MK will be there soon."
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that the judge executive at the time tried to get some sort of charges brought up on Debbie because of that. Because I seen that on that podcast recently with the person we had on here before, Wade, Hillbilly Crime.
Yeah, yeah. When it comes to listening,
Now, what he was talking about there, what he was referring to, I saw that too. She even went, Miss Debbie even went to a city council meeting or fiscal court or something. I guess it would have been the fiscal court meeting. And, you know, she had to really fight. Let's see. Let me see if I can pull that up. That was very interesting. Speaks at there we go. We'll pull this up and let you all see it.
to phone calls from the jail, I know it's all recorded and stuff, but having a judge executive monitor when someone calls to the jail to specifically be like, I want to listen to what they were saying, means he was paying attention to her.
Yeah.
There is, and I'm not sure the judge executive's role in it, but there's also a companion civil case in this. They actually filed a civil lawsuit about this. You know, Kentucky has that shortened 1 year statute of limitations, so they had to do something within that time frame, and it came about prior to the criminal charges.
Is it for wrongful death or for a federal case?
I believe it's for wrongful death. I've not looked into the civil case a lot, but I believe it was it's against the investigators, KSP. I believe the police chief that we've referenced, I believe, in not following up on the 911 calls and not acting in a manner quickly to investigate.
That original call where he was like, it's all fine, I'll take care of it.
Right.
Okay.
So eventually there were indictments and arrests, and I think that we had 3 parties arrested.
Right. You have MK McKinney, which is the son, and he is the one charged with the actual murder. You have Michael McKinney, the father, and Josh Mullins, and they are each charged with, all 3 are charged with 7 counts of tampering. And Josh Mullins, he comes into play. He lived in the home. I don't know the exact relationship between him and McKinney. I don't know if he's an adoptive son or basically he just lived with him so long he referred to him as a dad. I know here recently on the Justice for Amber page, they've got a huge following.
Now, let me just bring something up here, okay? Mr. Buddy Hembry says organized crime is large in scope worldwide, okay? Now, I have been saying since the very get-go of the Mickey Steins case, that we have a organized crime ring going on right here in eastern Kentucky. It's not in my mind, it's not just in Letcher County. We're seeing this all across Appalachia, especially. I mean, it's all across the country and the world, I'd say, worldwide. You got that right. But I've been saying for a long time, okay, now what does that look like? What is organized crime activity? Well, one thing that we know of is human trafficking or sex trafficking. You know, that is a very big one, no matter what culture that your criminal activity is in. Smex work is one of the oldest professions in the world, you know. So, I mean, it's easy for them to manipulate. It's easy for them to get it going. All it takes is an addict. Get somebody who's desperate. Get somebody who's on their that's vulnerable. They don't even have to be an addict. They don't even have to be vulnerable. A lot of these people are groomed as young people. They're groomed as children. We see parents who groom their children's friends. We see professional people who groom young apprentices, people who want to come and work in their places. Listen, it's happening a whole lot more than what people want to admit. Okay. And it's hard for me. It's very, very hard for me to believe that there would not be some form of smecks going on the night that they left the bar and went home. Now, I don't know who it was with, but I'd say, I used to go to after parties. I never went to the dentist's after party, of course, but I used to go to after parties. I know what happens at after parties. And so do you. So, don't say, how dare you? Let's get real. Let's get real. If dude was so drunk that he was peeing and pooping on himself, my gosh, that's a lot of alcohol. He was probably alcohol poisoned. And sometimes people use other substances when they're drinking. But a lot of times, smecks is involved somewhere. And like I said, I've heard that this dentist liked young men, allegedly. So, I don't know, y'all. I think that there's a lot more behind the scenes that nobody even knows. And if the guy was so connected and had such good friends in such high places, we may not ever know what was really going on behind closed doors. But we know that we have a murdered woman who mattered in this world and who should not be dead. And somebody's going to pay.
On Facebook, they had shared, a Father's Day post he made referring to him in a father capacity, but it's not a biological father. I don't know the exact relationship.
And do all of the so the bonds? I think MK is the only one still in jail. Is that correct?
That's correct. He had they set him a $5 million bond. His attorney actually appealed that, and the Court of Appeals found that Judge Coleman was within his discretion to set that based on these charges. There's been multiple motions to try to reduce that to get him out.
If he just said Coleman, is that what he said? Judge Coleman? I've heard that Judge Coleman is a really good judge, and I've heard that from legal people, good legal people.
Multiple arguments his defense team has made, but they've been unsuccessful.
And then Michael, he is the dentist. He is out. And he did have his license to practice dentistry revoked for a while. Did you not?
It's kind of a nuance with.
Now here, this is shocking to me. So this man can be charged. Is he charged with red rum? Is the daddy, the dentist, is he charged with red rum, or is he charged with covering it up afterward? I don't know. That part I don't know. But apparently he got his license back, y'all. I think he's still a practicing dentist.
Legalese, but it was suspended. I believe temporarily suspended. It never got revoked. And basically they entered a subsequent order that said, he was innocent until proven guilty, that they would reconsider it after the criminal charges played out. But he's actually got those back, and he's back in practice.
So does the judge do that, or does that come from like the Kentucky Licensing Board for Dentistry?
The Board of Dentistry. They're the ones that had initially put in the order. suspending it, saying that, he could potentially be a danger to the public. But then they, when he got bond, he was allowed to go back to work. They reinstated that.
So who are the players? Who are the attorneys for these 3 individuals? Do you know who they are? Anything about them?
The only one that I know much about, because kind of the McKinney, the father, and Josh Mullins cases, they have kind of taken a back seat a little bit because they're not charged with the actual murder. So that's been the case. It's been, front and center.
Okay. And who is MK's attorney? Do you know?
His attorney, the main attorney, is Stephen Romines. He's out of Louisville, and he is.
It's Steve Romines, I think is how you actually say his name. But now he was a high-priced attorney. Romines was very high-priced attorney.
One of the top criminal defense attorneys in Kentucky.
Yep.
He has another attorney that I didn't personally know, hadn't heard of his name, and he actually caught some heat early on for allegedly using AI to draft some of his motions. And I believe the judge, he argued that it wasn't, that it was just mistakes. But the judge actually, in his ruling, stated that he believed he used AI.
Yeah, he actually got a fine for that. Is that correct?
That's correct. I think there was some information coming out that he was going to appeal that. I don't know anything that came out of that. Then Romines came in shortly after that, and kind of the focus was on him because he's always, for Kentucky, been a high-profile guy. When Scotty Scheffler, the pro golfer, got in trouble, that's who he hired.
Yeah, we followed that case pretty closely when it came out. But when you have a big time lawyer come from the city, pretty much of Louisville down to southeastern Kentucky, I think that's a big deal.
I'm glad. I love this guy. I love Wade, buddy. He is just so down to earth, and he brings up a lot of great points. So anytime that you have a high-priced city lawyer from Lexington or Louisville, and they drive all the way to Hobunk, Whitesburg, or Pikeville to take a case, then then whoever it is spending a lot of money. And the average person can't afford that. The average person can't do that. You can't afford to pay any lawyer. But I think with this case, somebody said it there just a second ago, that there was a McKinney, here it is, see you later, said a McKinney male DNA was under her fingernails, scratches on MK's arms, MK suddenly being at his college in just hours. Now, I don't know anything about all that stuff, guys. That's just in one of our comments. But Ben's judge was Coleman, accepted his plea deal. You're kidding. Is that who that was? Oh, you're joking. Well, even that just goes to show you, even if they're a good one, like if they're one of the good cops, if they're one of the good lawyers, if they're one of the good judges, they are just as susceptible to being pressured into making decisions. I would like to know what Coleman thought about that plea deal of Ben's. Can a judge tell can they comment on a case after it's been dispositioned? Can a judge explain why or what their thoughts are on it? Does anybody know?
Yeah, that, and
Spilt my pop all over me.
No matter how, I'm a prosecutor, no matter how solid you think your case is, everybody here knows that, the right defense attorney can throw a wrench in a lot of things. Look at OJ, everybody thought he was going down. Look at Casey Anthony. They thought she was had, and, both of them got off.
Oh, yeah. They just caught her going on a date, I believe, in Connecticut recently.
Yeah, I believe so. She's made a lot of headlines for her dating life after.
So where are we at right now in MK's case? Are we at? They have a trial scheduled?
They have a tentative trial date set of December 1st, 2025. But practically speaking, I do not believe, from everything that I've read, I've watched all the hearings, everything I've seen, I don't believe the state will be ready to go at that point. And no fault on their part as far as the prosecution goes, but they've argued all along that they do not believe this will be ready until the spring of 26 because the lab is so backlogged that they don't have all the evidence processed, and they don't believe that will happen in time to have it for December, let alone for the defense to have it and have their own experts look at it and investigate it that way. The lab backlog and the delay in processing this evidence has caused all these delays, according to the state. That's why it's so long in charging. They were waiting to see how some things came out, and they've actually introduced, or I believe they've introduced it, and they're trying to get it funded and pushed through legislation called Amber's Law, which would add $10 on court fees across the state of Kentucky or Commonwealth of Kentucky to properly fund the lab and to try to get some more money pumping in to prevent these delays.
Well, I see as the defense side having delays after delay. I feel like the evidence, you want to get what was the cause out as quickly as possible to have the most, like, we figured it out. Like, we didn't have to wait and jump through hoops to, oh, it could be this or it could be that.
I'll tell you what my opinion is of why they do that, why they drag it out and continue it and do it as much as what they do is for money. That's what I think, because every single time they postpone it for another hearing and another hearing and another hearing, that defense attorney can come say, I need some more money, time to pay the piper. Man, I just can't do it. I got to have 20 more thousand. Man, I just can't. I can't do it. I've got to have $10,000 for the next hearing for me to be able to do this, man. I know we didn't expect it to be this long. I know we didn't expect it to go this far, but I've got to have it. 8 more thousand. I have to have 8 more thousand. Well, I tell you what, you get me $12,000 and you won't have to worry about nothing. We'll go to court and we'll take care of this. Now, that's what I think for most of the time. I'm not pigeonholing this to this case, but in a general sense, yeah, that's exactly what I think they do it for. And it's a food chain. So you've got a natural selection, I guess is the best way to say. And, there ends up being a food chain, and somebody rises to the top and somebody else goes all the way down to the bottom.
You want a definitive answer as quickly as you can get.
Oh, I completely get it. But even from the prosecution side, I'm sure those prosecutors are itching to get that information too. And, we have the same issue across the river. You all know that even getting drugs tested takes forever. Autopsy, getting those reports back take a while. The autopsy report on this case is back, and they've got DNA from her fingernail scrapings back, but the state keeps citing a lot of evidence there still processing.
I got a July 24th pre-trial conference. They're supposed to have some expert witness disclosures. And what do you think that's going to be? I
believe that will be the defense basically saying they might be able to say we intend to use this expert and that expert, but they're also going to have to say we don't know what experts we need.
Interesting. See you later, says judges issue written opinions explaining their rulings and the reasoning behind their decisions. These opinions are part of the public record and serve as a crucial form of judicial commentary. Well, I knew that like Supreme Court justices did this, but I didn't know that like every, like your circuit court judge would do that. I'm gonna have to check into that. Which they probably don't. They probably don't talk about cases. But, I mean, I've seen judges give interviews like to CBS or Dateline or somebody like that. So I think that they're probably allowed to. They probably just don't. Because they don't want to be criticized, I'd say.
Don't believe the prosecution will be able to name every expert because they don't know which analysts are going to be signing off on the reports on evidence that they've not got back yet. So I think what you'll see in July is you might have a tentative, we tend to use the analyst for this and that, but you're not going to have a definitive list. But I think what you're really going to see is this case isn't going to be ready December 1st. We're going to need additional time. Then you're going to see the defense object to that. You're going to see the defense say, well, if you're going to give them additional time, we want our bond reduction. Then you'll have all those subsequent arguments that stem from we're not ready yet.
So they don't have anything back from the Kentucky State Lab yet. And was that what they were citing, the reason in the delay for any indictments?
They are mine. And I don't think I've not seen anything that said we were waiting on this specific piece of evidence to come back. But they did get the DNA analysis from her under her fingernails back. And that tested probably, or with all the probability, to one of the McKinneys or their paternal relatives.
So why are they hanging their hat on MK?
Because he's the only one that had wounds on his arms. Mm-hmm. He had, whenever they caught up with him and whenever they questioned him, they photographed scratch marks on his arms. Now, his team is arguing that those scratch marks predate this incident, that it was before the murder, but they did not find any markings on MK or McKinney, the father. So that's why they focused on McKinney, because it had to have been one of the McKinneys or a paternal relative.
Okay. Is Roy Kidd a paternal relative?
No.
Okay.
And Mullins was not. So that's how they've cited that in trying to rule out those two, because the defense for MK, they're going to hang their hat on this likely was Roy Kidd. This could have been Roy Kidd. They don't have to prove it was Roy Kidd. They just need to create some reasonable doubt.
Yeah.
So they've tried to hang their hat on that. You see from a lot of their pretrial filings, a lot of their bond reduction motions, and the way the state has countered that is Roy Kidd didn't have defensive wounds. Roy Kidd his DNA was not found under her fingernails.
So right now, that's what the state lab says and comes back with is going to be huge in this case.
Oh, I believe so.
So that's why you don't think that we'll get a trial. I know it's originally set for December the 1st. That's why you think that we're not going to have a December 1st trial date.
No, I don't believe so.
Okay.
And, going back to Roy Kidd, part of what the defense was arguing in a lot of the pretrial motions, where they've tried to get out, in a lot of the statements that you read, is that Roy Kidd did have blood on him, that he had a cut under his chin. But they tested the clothing, and it was Roy Kidd's blood. He was so drunk that he kept falling, and he busted his chin open, so he had blood down his shirt.
The tampering with evidence, what does that come from? Did they try to clean the area or what?
There's 7 different counts. It comes from cleaning the area and mysteriously surveillance cameras, security cameras that they had at the home disappeared. They're gone.
So they've answered a lot of questions for me. So it's the son, MK, that they have hung their hat on as the one who actually committed the red rum, because he's got scratches on his arms, and they found a male DNA from that family under the fingernails. And I just wanted to point out too what I was talking about old daddy. If he is an avert pay, like what I am hearing he is and has been for a very long time. I heard that he had this tendency when he was all the way back in high school. So people who went to school with him back then, I've spoken to. And usually you guys listen. I mean, unfortunately, it's just a sad truth that if a parent is an avert pay, the kids have a less, they're less likely to be normal. If I'm not normal, I had an avert pay as a parent. I mean, not real bad, but bad enough that it damaged my brain of what I thought was love and what wasn't, and what I thought was, right, what adults really did. I mean, listen, when we're adults, if you're doing any weird stuff behind your closed doors, your kids pick up on it. They know what you're doing, even if you closing the door and turning your fan on, thinking that they can't hear you. I promise you, they know what you're doing. And if you're doing any weird stuff, they're going to find out. They're going to know about it. And it's going to affect them. So don't be doing no weird stuff, all right? I mean, just don't be doing no weird crap. You be cool.
The DVRs that held those are gone. So there's nothing there to where they could have pulled the surveillance equipment. Additionally, in the autopsy report from Amber Spradlin shows that she was stabbed so hard that metal fragment from the knife was embedded inside of her. So the knife had actually broke. And they're alleging that the knife handle was destroyed.
All right. Sorry, y'all.
Read they put like a fake knife out to like throw off the investigation team.
Correct. And a knife was found on the couch. And, that's one of the allegations as well, that they had done that. And under the Kentucky statute, you can tamper with the evidence or fabricate the evidence, and that would be the fabrication.
So
that makes sense.
So under the Kentucky statute, you're saying that they had a duty to preserve the evidence, that even though that like the DVD or the surveillance camera is theirs, they can't delete it if it was an active crime scene. Is that how the Kentucky statute reads?
you can't actively conceal it, destroy it, things like that. Now, if it would have been the situation where you're
it tapes over.
Yeah, where it loops over after a week and they waited 3 weeks to try to get it, they're going to have a good argument. The counter to that was you should have known you needed to keep that. But if they didn't give them a preservation notice, then they'd have a a good argument on that.
Yeah, they would have no duty.
But the fact that they've allegedly actively destroyed it, then that's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, when the DVR ends up in a burn barrel in the backyard, it leans towards something happened. I saw each one carries, I believe, 5 years. So
up to 5 years on the tampering counts.
So when you get charged with 7 counts of tampering, that's 5 times 7 if you get the most.
Yeah, and you can imagine if they're successful in their prosecution, get all the counts, they're going to push for the max. I think that the public pressure, the family pressure, they're going to have to push for the max.
I would agree with that.
Interestingly, one point that we've not discussed is, all this happened in Prestonsburg, Floyd County, and there's actually this trial will be held in neighboring Pike County, and they've got a Pike County judge on that case due to conflicts.
Yeah, Eddie Coma's been around for a long time. If you practice law like we have for several years, you know who Eddie Coma is.
I think he's a great judge for this case, because on a case like this, you want a judge that knows what they're doing, is going to protect their record, that they're not going to act hastily, rush into anything. And he takes the time to get it right.
Now, what do you think the challenge would be of finding a jury someone on a jury that's not heard about this case?
You don't necessarily have to find someone that hasn't heard about it. I don't know that you're going to find a lot of people that have not heard about it. You got to find people that have not made up their mind when they come in there as to, the guilt or innocence of a party, and that are willing to listen to the evidence and hear what it is. I think that they'll be able to see the jury.
Okay.
It'll be a tough time if you're, one of the questions is going to be, do you ever see that billboard?
And everyone's
seen it, but you'll have some people that probably truthfully didn't know what it was. When I first seen it, the very first time, I didn't know what it was, but it served its purpose because I got a little bit nosy. I was like, what is this? And that's when I got hooked.
So you think we'll actually have the trial in Pike County?
I do.
Okay.
I do. And interestingly, a lot of times it's contested, but the Commonwealth didn't contest this one. They agreed with the having it changed over.
Okay, so they changed it from Floyd to Pike?
They did.
It's so close. You'd think that they would try to get it somewhere else.
I think under the statute, you got the preference is a neighboring county.
Okay.
And when you have local businessmen, they're normally well connected with the community, with elections. So the local judges, prosecutor, he knows the main cop there. He called his personal cell phone.
Right. It's going both ways.
He called the chief of police, I think it is who it was, called their personal cell phone whenever this was going down, whenever they supposedly found her body. But there was so much cover up. There was so much cleanup. Like, who had the time to clean all that up? Like, if you just think about it, if it was MK, like if MK's the one who did it, I could see MK just getting out of Dodge. He's just took off. Well, then would somebody trying to cover for him then clean up the scene and try and throw the police off the trail of who really did it? Like they said that they heard that they had planted a fake knife at the scene. And there was a whole lot of cleanup there at the house. And they said that the way that she was laying on the couch, they couldn't even tell that she had any injuries. So Daddy Dearest, I think, was trying to cover for Junior. And Miss Colleen, I was talking about the Ervert pays. Yes, that's a little pig Latin for you, because we have to camouflage some of our words on here, because YouTube has like an automatic trigger, and they'll grab our video if we say certain words. And The only reason that they do ours more is because we're a newer channel. We're not, we haven't been on as long as, you know, like say Court TV or some of these other channels. So ours is just a little bit more susceptible to that auto trigger. So we just have to be careful with some of the words that we use, and we just can't try to camouflage them. Somebody got upset and said something about my master's degree, and every time I say pew pew, well, it's not because I'm being stupid. It's because I need all my videos, you know, I need to get paid. I need an income to feed my children. And so if I say a word camouflaged, that's why. It's not because I'm being funny or being disrespectful in any way, shape, or form. It's just what we have to do for the YouTube thing.
Ways, because the defense has been cited in their motions, you know, that they're connecting all the dots. You know, I'm guessing they're throwing a lot of money at this, the defendants are, because you can tell that they've got a team of investigators not only on the ground, but, you know, doing digital research, because they've cited podcasts, they've cited interviews and statements that Debbie Hall made. Mm-hmm. So in a recent filing, they had noted, it's actually one of the things that, going back to that July pretrial that will be heard, they're wanting additional discovery. And part of that discovery is basically the personal and work cell phones of every single trooper that worked on this case, because they state that Debbie Hall's fiance's brother, I believe, works at the post for the KSP. And they've said that Roy Kidd has 2 nephews that are troopers at that post.
Oh, wow.
Ooh.
So, you know, they're alleging connections stemming there. And they cited interviews that she gave for, you know, various media outlets. So, you know, they've got people watching all that.
You know, it's just crazy that our community, I mean, we're in Williamson, West Virginia, but we're still.
Listen, that's scary. That's very scary. You know, people ask me all the time if I'm afraid because of my channel. Well, Miss Debbie Hall, she's a cousin. That's her family. That's her blood that was taken from this earth in a very brutal, brutal manner. And just because this family has connections and she's trying to fight for justice, that her cousin, the people who red-rummed her cousin, will pay the price for what they did. Like, it's a shame. It's a shame that people have to get out here and fight for justice when we have a legal system that's supposed to be fighting for us. You know, there's a whole side, a whole prosecutor's team, prosecutorial team that should be investigating these cases in a way to take him to court, to take him to trial. It's just a shame. It's a shame. What caught my attention there was he said that they subpoenaed every single phone for that whole post, that police post, for this investigation. Well, wasn't I saying that I thought that all those people that would have been in the court in Whitesburg courthouse, that they needed to use their subpoenas and get all the phone records for everybody that was in there that day? Oh, they can't do that. They can't do that. Oh, yes, they can.
Stone throw away from Letcher County, Kentucky. We're stone throw away from Prestonsburg. That we've had 2 high profile cases in the past, what, year?
Yeah.
I mean,
ongoing.
Yeah.
Well, and it comes back to like these are small places. Everyone is
No, I'm going to tell you what it comes down to. It comes down to there's so much corruption. Only social media and the internet is finally catching up. All these people, what's it all? What have we always been told? What's done in the dark will always come to the light. Hallelujah. Jesus will always bring forth the truth. The truth will set you free. All of this stuff that's been going on for so many years and so many generations, they controlled what got out through through our local newspapers, through our local, there was like a gatekeeper. You had a gatekeeper. You had several of them. You had gatekeepers of information, whether it was a news network that came on at 6:00 p.m., came on at 11 p.m. on TV, or you had the newspaper that came out once a week. Now you have a lot more ways for people to get information. We have all these different platforms, all these different apps, and you have so many more independent journalists like me trying to be an investigative reporter, trying to be. I'm learning as I go. I'm learning as I go. But the truth is finally starting to come out. When you got a gatekeeper who is in control of printing the newspaper for next week, well, every article that they write is going to be written from their perspective. Even the facts, even if they are, facts, it's still going to be written from their perspective. And if they are friends with all of the people, all of the sources of information that's going to come out of the courthouse, they're going to write their articles how they ask them to write them. I mean, it's just human nature. It's what you do. Who would have ever thought that there was this kind of corruption going on? I'm not saying that they were knowledgeable about it. No, I'm sure none of them were knowledgeable about what was going on behind closed doors. But that's how things have been manipulated, through connections, through friendships, through working relationships. And so all of these things that they were able to keep a lid on before, like old dude telling my friend who was cleaning his house, he told his daddy, "Hey, Dad, if you got anything you need to be telling me and Mom, I think you better be telling us, because she's going to find it out. And if she finds it out, she's going to tell it." Talking about me. All this stuff is finally, and people knew about it, but who cared? Who was going to know? Like, who were they going to tell? Who was ever going to? What would it matter if they did tell? Who was going to do anything about it?
You know somebody, you're related to somebody. It's hard to avoid conflicts, and that's one of the big rules as a lawyer. You want to not show, "Oh, my cousin is here, and that's why I know this or this." Those conflicts stand out to the public when you're from Chicago and you're like, "Oh, this guy's cousins are with the cops," or whatever. Around here, that's normal. Yeah. Everyone knows everyone.
Oh, yeah. And in trying to deal with that, it goes back to Matt and I talking about Judge Coleman. He's already addressed a lot of that. He's designated Mountaintop Media as the official party that gets to stream, and designated that they have to cooperate with the other media outlets to give their footage, or give them access to footage to use for their streams or their broadcast.
So that's great. Mountaintop Media is whose stream we will be using whenever this trial happens, because we will be covering this trial. This is a homegrown case.
And he's also already ruled, because there were issues brought up at prior hearings. The Justice for Amber movement is
Polly Buzz. Court TV really upset me with Julie Grant and her coverage of the Karen Reed case. I love Vinny, and he's the sole reason I watch Court TV at all. I was shocked. Before I go back to our thing, I was really shocked that Julie Grant acted the way that she did about the family. She seemed very pro prosecution, very pro or anti Karen Reed, I guess. And I was shocked. I was surprised at that. I was very surprised at that. But hey, that's the way it goes. Everybody's got an opinion, and we're not always going to agree with everybody. So we have to be able to agree to disagree with people and still love each other. Come here and give me a big old hug.
At prior hearings, the Justice for Amber movement is huge. I think on Facebook, you all can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they got 30 to 40,000 followers.
I looked at it. It was big, and
huge.
It's active. It's active. They're on there,
and they were showing up to the hearings, in solidarity, wearing their color, and I don't know if protesting, but showing their support.
Yeah.
So he's already entered an order that they can't be within, I think it was 25 feet of the Pike County courthouse there.
Little election rules.
Yeah, trying to cut that off, because what they don't want, and you've seen it recently with Karen Reed, is the jury to be in their room and hear people out on the street chanting, free Karen Reed, free Karen Reed. So that they're trying to deal with those issues.
Well, we are not in a big populated area like that. Like, that was Boston, Massachusetts. And they have made it, that's surprising to me. I didn't know that they had made it to where Debbie and the supporters of the victim can't be around the courthouse. See, I think you're going to end up seeing a whole lot of stuff that we normally wouldn't hear. That's one reason why I love Matt and Wade. They really do a great job covering these cases. So y'all make sure that you subscribe to the Docket Dodgers, our friends over there.
Did you watch the verdict in Karen Reed?
I did.
Did you hear the crowd go wild?
Yeah.
I mean, you could hear it all through the courtroom. It sounded like they won the World Series when that not good game.
The defense attorney on that case, Alan Jackson, he actually went out at one point during deliberations, and he was like, "Listen," he's like, "You all got to be quiet." He's like, "Back off." He said, "The judge has said that if you don't, they're going to keep us in the room. We're not going to be allowed to leave." He's like, "Please." He's like, "We get it." He's like, and they had some sort of hand gesture that they routinely use to show support. Yeah. He said, "Just throw that up. We know you're doing it." He's like, "Please be quiet."
It's like the home team. You don't want the fans throwing stuff on the field, getting that 15-yard penalty. You want.
Oh, exactly. Exactly.
Don't want to get in trouble.
Which, I'm sure for the family of Amber, that all that support means a lot. But in a case like this, you got to protect the record too. You don't want an appellate ground being that, the jury the whole time was listening to people on the street chant, convict, 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 or, something to that effect.
Well, I have to say here too, if the prosecutor spoke to Miss Debbie and said, we want to make sure that, nothing happens, that they can't come back and, say anything. Would you guys please be quiet and mind, just being on the down low and not chanting and shouting at the time of trial? I mean, I'm sure, I don't know, maybe, I don't know, but I just I feel like that completely takes away the choice from her. Like, I don't know. I just feel like if anybody had went to her, if anybody would have went to her and to her or anybody that was running that group and said, we really need it to be quiet, I think that they would probably be, well-mannered enough to not do it or be quiet. You know what I'm saying? If it was going to hurt the trial. Like, they are smart enough to know they want this trial. They want them convicted. They don't want anything to damage this trial. And I think that just comes off that way to me. Like, we can't trust these people. These people are going to come in and cause a big disruption, and they're going to, and I think that's the farthest thing from the truth.
And you got to think these are pre-trial stuff. We haven't even got to the trial yet. So if there is a trial, I'm sure the first day there's going to be a lot of people out there.
Oh, there'll be a trial. This isn't one that gets worked out. There'll be a trial, and I think Pikeville will probably be more wild than you've seen for many events.
Hillbilly days.
Maybe.
Yeah, it'll be about like Hillbilly days, or if UK came down to play U Pike.
Maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe this guy's right. Maybe there's going to be well, I said I hadn't really thought about how many people was going to be down there. But see, I thought that that's how it was going to be down there that night that Mickey shot Judge Mullins. I thought there was going to be nowhere to park, that everybody would be, there wasn't nobody there, y'all. It was a ghost town. I mean, it was a total ghost town. I don't think you have that kind of thing here in Letcher County. Like, if people try to go witness stuff like that, then the rest of everybody shame. You're just being nosy. Shame. I wish it was. I wish more people were. Brave enough to come out and support, but I'm hoping for this case. Maybe this case will bring in that kind of support system in this area. Maybe this one will be the first one that we see where, it'll be standing room only. There won't be no place that you can park within 5 miles of Pikeville Courthouse. Maybe.
I kind of wanted to talk about when it comes to picking a jury. How many do you think they're going to go through? Because there's going to be a lot of people with strong opinions of like.
They'll have to call in a lot of prospective jurors on this one, I imagine. One, you got to deal with, even with it being a neighboring county, you got to deal with the issue of those that.
I think you're going to have people who are going to be trying to get on this jury. How do you keep people that are trying to get off? Like, there's so much honor system involved in juries. I just don't. I don't have a whole lot of faith in that kind of thing. But that's just my cynicism.
A lot of people do not want to sit on a jury, and this.
Look there, Colleen, Turtle Boy rallied all the people to go to the courthouse for Karen Reed. He sure did. He sure did. And if it wouldn't have been for Turtle Boy doing that and bringing so much attention to the Karen Reed case, who knows how the outcome of that case would have been.
Do you know anything about this case? Yeah, he's guilty. That because they know they're going home, so you'll have to deal with that to a certain extent, and then I imagine they will be given wide latitude for voir dire and questioning these jurors. So that's going to take a while.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Yeah, I think on this case you have to give a little extra latitude to the defense to question.
So the jury pool is going to come from Pike County.
Correct.
Uh-oh.
And Pike County, that's a huge county, so you can draw a big pool.
Oh, that's me.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are you going to say if they call you up, Matt?
I know nothing about this case.
Question number one, did you do a podcast on this?
Absolutely not. It's my twin.
Are you in fact wearing a recording device right now to capture this?
Like and subscribe.
Yeah, plug it. YouTube and TikTok, find me.
That's right.
But yeah, it'll definitely, for a legal nerd, which I consider myself, it's definitely interesting because it brings up a lot of challenges. It's going to be good lawyer, and you got a good defense lawyer, you got a good prosecutor. It's definitely going to be a trial worth watching.
Who's the prosecutor on this?
Brent Turner.
Is it going to be Brent Turner?
Yeah.
I didn't know if this is bringing someone in or not.
No, he didn't. Not to my knowledge. He's been handling all the pre-trials, and he's been the one, filing the responses and the motions. He didn't conflict off though. Okay.
Because I know in the Letcher County judge shooting, they're going to have an attorney general.
Yeah,
I think do that.
I think there was some sort of conflict between it's going a judge and a sheriff. The prosecutor was probably worked with everybody.
Right. Yeah.
In this case, I don't guess the Commonwealth's attorney had any personal involvement with anybody.
And I don't mean to get off topic, but I think there's something going on with the attorney general in that case too. Is he not related to someone in Letcher County? Do you know anything about that?
No.
He's talking about the prosecutor, Matt Butler, our big buddy, being the judge's brother-in-law. Gag me with a spoon, man.
I don't.
Yeah, I think he's related to someone.
I think
If I'm wrong, I'll just cut this out. But
I think that's what I remember, that it was a little fishy down there, but who knows? No, it was the attorney general himself. He was buddies with the head of ARC Rehab.
Oh, okay.
And that was the rehab involved.
Yeah, see, there's a lot going on in that case too.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in Eastern Kentucky.
Yeah.
Those new highways.
Good job, Wade. Good job, Wade.
Are really opening it up to the world.
Yeah. So going back to this one, even though it's a solid case for the prosecution, when you have a really good defense attorney and you have a viable alternative suspect, there's always a shot.
And it sounds like there's no direct evidence on this. It's all circumstantial.
Well, I would consider the DNA evidence under the fingernails. I would consider that direct. outside of that at this point, but you don't know what's going to come back
yeah.
from the lab. I don't think, and a lot of times you have a weak link from a a group of defendants, somebody's going to flip. I don't believe a father's going to flip on his son, and I don't believe the Josh Mullins will flip on anybody just because he's considered, he considers himself to be a son. So.
Right.
Well, I think that's why we have the fourth guy. Like,
Pam says, who knows, Elizabeth, you may be a juror. I would love to sit on a jury. I'd have a blast. That'd be like my dream, to actually be a juror. Oh, wow, that'd be fun. But I think everybody's not guilty. Not everybody. But I think we have a whole lot of innocent people convicted. More than what we would ever admit as a society.
Out of the night, and he was the easy person to point a finger at. He had an injury, even though it was from being drunk, and there's a 911 call that he was so drunk that he was becoming belligerent and violent.
Yeah, causing issues.
Yeah. And that's another thing that the prosecution used with trying to fight bond, is that they had evidence from mental health records of some alleged violent tendencies of MK, that they have some witness statements that he had pulled a knife out at I think a different party, and he had suicidal ideations, that he had voices in his head telling him to kill himself, and those are all allegations that the state made allegedly from the mental health.
And I reckon this kid was a spoiled punk. Allegedly. He was a spoiled punk. When people have never been told no before, sometimes they're not.
Well, Facebook comments, I know they're not the most accurate, but they've been alleging drug use and all kinds of stuff at those parties.
Well, and one of Roy Kidd gave, he referenced the interviews earlier. I think that he gave 2 or 3. I think that he had given 2 pretty solid ones. Then his attorney cut off the third and they left. But I believe in one of those, he states while he was drinking with McKinney, MK McKinney, that he went outside because his girlfriend had brought him a pill. They didn't elaborate much. I don't know if it was a pill that he was prescribed or if it was something that he shouldn't have been taking. I have no information on that. But even most of the things you'd be prescribed, you're not supposed to drink on top of. So,
oh yeah, if you've been drinking all night and you take something your doctor tells you to take, it's still go any direction.
Yeah, it's a hard thing for people to understand too. You can get a DUI off of your prescriptions. I'm sure you all deal with that all the time.
I think the law in Kentucky is that you can have a DUI if you have too much stewed beans or something like that. That's what the case law says.
Okay, now I want to bring this and take this into a completely different direction than what that guy just took it. Okay. He went to prescription. Well, honey, I ain't going there because I can just about guarantee you his girlfriend ain't bringing him a prescription pill after the bar closed, 4 o'clock in the morning. Okay. It's not going to be an antibiotic. I very highly doubt that. So look at what we are, look at the way that the evolution of these rugs have happened. Remember, I talked the other night about finally finding out about Jennifer Hill, the other woman that accused Ben Fields of sexual abuse. She thought that somebody was going to do a Percocet with her. That's what she thought, allegedly. Somebody was offering to do a pill with her. So she stops at the motel where these people are. She goes in. She goes in the bathroom. She does this person does it with her, which, if you know anything about opioids, with stuff like that, they crush it up and they toot it, okay, usually. So she's went in there. They allegedly they split it up. She did hers, and then she left. She left. And it was, as soon as she gets out and gets in the vehicle and they start to pull off, she starts saying, oh my gosh, what was that? What was that? That wasn't a Percocet. And the next thing you know, she's dead. Now, the kinds of pills that people are getting today, like we're used to, it's coming from the pharmacy. Well, they're not coming from the pharmacy anymore. They've got what you call a presser, a pill press, where people are making this stuff and they are pressing them into what you would think is something that would be safe, but it's not safe. We don't know what he took. We have no idea because he wasn't picked up by the police. Let's see. Everybody's saying, oh, yeah, you're talking about my neighbor. Yeah, that's a nightmare, y'all. That's a whole other nightmare. We'll talk about that later.
You got too many stewed beans, you can do.
What, they fermenting on you? Like, okay.
But going back to Roy Kidd's interview, I think that at one point he had discussed seeing MK take a bag of clothes out of the house.
Yeah. I believe McKinney, the father, I don't know how to better describe him unless we.
Well, I said what I said about MK taking whatever pill. They said that his girlfriend brought him a pill. Well, you don't know what kind of mental state he was in. What if he took something and it made him crazy and he just unalived her for no reason whatsoever? I mean, that's what it kind of sounds to me like. Drunk, in a blackout, or don't know really what they're doing.
Michael and MK, but it's going to get confusing. But McKinney, the father, had tried to say that MK had left sometime that night, but they found surveillance footage of him leaving early in the morning and driving to his girlfriend's house in Moorhead and getting there about 8:30. So he had seen him leaving in that morning with some of this. And
he jetted.
And what time was Amber found?
Amber was found, I believe, and I'm not entirely sure on his timeline, but I believe Roy Kidd had woke up about 10:30. You know, they were drunk. They had been partying until 7 in the morning. So I believe he woke up about 10:30 and found her.
Well, we've talked about the 3 that have been charged, but we have this civil case. Do we expect any charges against possibly the police there? That one officer that retired?
You know, I don't know on that. And a lot of what they could potentially be charged with, off the allegations that they've done, I would imagine that would be more federal than state.
Mm-hmm.
And, the feds aren't going to be, you don't have many leaks there. They're not going to be talking to the press, and they don't have to get in a rush. They can take their time, wait a few years, and then hit them with it. But, I've not looked as much into the civil case. So I don't even know a lot about those allegations other than, the alleged failure to show up after that first call and the alleged, the phone call at 8-minute phone call between the police chief and McKinney, the father.
So if anyone's listening out there and you're in Prestonsburg and you see any blacked out SUVs around, let us know.
Yeah.
I hope you guys enjoyed our episode here. If anything happens in the case, you best believe that we're going to come back and talk about it. And
I just want to say one thing before you leave here. We had Josh on. He's a prosecutor, but I used to think that I was pretty special because, I'm licensed to practice in Kentucky and West Virginia. But this guy, how many states you licensed to practice in?
I'm licensed in 4. I got the Appalachian region covered.
So if you need anything at all in Appalachia, Josh Farrell's your man.
235 Josh.
hey, in Flatland, don't worry about it.
All right, guys. Thank you. It's been the Docket Dodgers. Remember to like, subscribe. Guys, we are doing great. Keep it going. Let's like, let's subscribe. Let's get this out here. And hopefully we'll bring you more. Until next
time, there's Docket Dodgers. Love them. So shout out to Matt and Wade. Thank you, guys. There we go. There we go. Thank you, Miss Peggy. Thank you, Miss Peggy. Bless you, bless you, bless you. All right. So there was somebody else that I wanted to just make sure that I mentioned because, man, I don't know who this guy is. I have no idea. But you talk about one heck of a show. This guy, his name is Lordan Arts, LORDANARTS. I put the link in the description of my video. And it's Brain Scratch. And he does this video and he has, do you all see all those sources there? You see all those blue? That's all the sources. That's why I like this video. I watched it a long time ago. I haven't watched it recently, but I was just so impressed with all of the sources that this guy gives. I mean, he's got them all. He's got every single news article, every single news story, Wikipedia, WIMT, WHAS. He's got stuff from the courts. I mean, he's just got everything. So this one here is an hour long. I think he actually has another one on her that was like a little bit longer than that. This might be just the shortest one. If any of you are interested in learning more about Miss Amber's case, I suggest going there because you'll see all of those sources. You can go look at it, check it out for yourself. Okay. So we've been on here long enough, you guys. I'm going to end this one for tonight. We got a lot more stuff coming this week, so just make sure you come back tomorrow. We got a lot of big stuff. A lot of big stuff coming up. All right. Well, thank you, Lord, for another day being able to come together in your name. I love you so much, Jesus, and I thank you for just being in my life. I thank you for saving my soul. I thank you for forgiving me for my sins. I ask that you continue to forgive me for my sins, Lord. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. I pray that you give us peace, Lord. That peace that only you can give us, that passes all understanding. I know I've been struggling and with some things, and I just ask the Lord to move. I ask the Lord to go before me, be a light at my feet, keep me on the right path. I pray that you put a watch over my mouth, Lord, and help me to not say the things that I don't need to say, and give me the words to say what I want, what I need to say. I pray there's so many people that we know, Lord, that's going through medical problems, health issues, and I pray that you just touch each and every single one of them. You know their names, you know what's wrong, and I just pray that you will heal them. Heal them all, Lord. I pray for complete and total healing in Jesus' mighty name. Until we come again tomorrow, Lord, I give you all praise, honor, and glory. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, guys. We will see you tomorrow on the flip side. Peace out, Girl Scout.